Yes, the people's up, yes.
Okay.
Well, the county is up.
We'll call the meeting to order of our special meeting of the county board. Would you all please rise in joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for being here this morning. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Lorenzen.
Here.
Farnham.
Here.
Chittick. Here. Luddington. Here. Patrick. Here. Bruner.
Here.
Voigt.
Here. The purpose of the meeting this morning has been defined by the agenda and information that we sent out. The first item is we're going to talk about our employee compensation as it relates to the coronavirus and the new federal law that goes into effect April 2nd. Then we'll go into closed session on personnel. And then the third item is any action on what we addressed in the personnel closed session. I did want to announce ahead of time that the health department and ESDA did send me messages both. We've had a number of tests in the community and in the county on the coronavirus. They've all been negative. We do not currently have any active cases of the coronavirus in this county, and we have had no deaths. We have one outstanding test that we have not gotten the results on. So, just so you're aware. The second item I wanted to announce is and we've talked about it before, is there's a grant through the USDA that we're applying for as far as the jail and the proper approach for the jail that Aaron is helping us on, and so is the Regional Planning Commission and Kelly, and that has to be in on the 31st of this month, so we're actively working on that. So we'll move along to the first item on the agenda, and that's the compensation of employees and the policy that we're going to
Excuse me. Public comment.
oh, public comment. Thank you. Public comment, please. We ask that you identify yourself and maintain your comments within 5 minutes. Thank you.
My name's Kirk Allen. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to address a little bit of history. And before I dive into that, I want to basically quote something in regards to county budgets out of the county code in section 5/6-1003. Once the budget is adopted and appropriations are made, no further appropriations shall be made at any other time during the fiscal year. And it goes on to explain some emergency situations where it can happen. As you read through the entire budget process, the very last section of it points to violations. Any person who violates or neglects or fails to comply with the terms of the division, which is that section on budgets, commits a Class B misdemeanor. In case of violation of the division by action of the county board, each member of the board participating in such action shall be subject to the aforesaid sentences. My point with that is, there's no question, I'm glad you're here this morning, Sheriff, there's no question that we've been over budget year after year after year with the Sheriff's Office. Stop appropriating the money that's over his budget because the law says it's a crime. And when you continue to pass it, the law says the county board to be held accountable. So there's a real simple way to stop it. Just use the statute to your position and say, we ain't doing it no more. It's got to stop. We have to have public trust, and it's clear with the recent events, public trust has been lost. And since you're here, Sheriff, I would encourage you to resign. What's going on over there in the last 5 years is ridiculous. Thank you.
Any other public comment, please? You're public if you want to stand up there. I mean, outside of your board
I
position.
just want to ask a question as a board member. I'll forget it.
Okay.
I'll ask him private.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, moving on to the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. It was passed on the 18th and signed into law, and the It goes into effect April 2nd. It has several different provisions that allow an employee to go home, take care of children at a certain rate. If they're infected by the virus, there's another rate. How to use vacation time and sick time and all that. And I don't know about you, but I would put forward the proposal thusly. And it basically is to erase the stress that our employees have. And based on how the offices are being handled, every office holder is still open, is rotating staff through that office to keep it operating, to handle the needs of the public on a careful basis. Have I said that right, Augie? Augie can kind of describe what he's doing in his office, may give you some idea, and every office is similar.
Sure, I'd be glad to. I'm working every day, Monday through Friday, from 8 until noon. And let me back up. My office is closed to the public, but I'm there every day, 8 to noon, and then I leave, and then at 12:30, one of my staff members comes in, and they work the afternoon. And then at 4 o'clock, they go home, and at 4:30, I have another one comes in and does, and works a few hours. Then, but the afternoon, the noon to 4 shift, they rotate every other day. And so we're trying to not be in contact with, certainly with each other, nor the public. We've made provisions to knock on the door, hand documents right through the door if it's, if it's possible. And trying to be as sanitary as we can be. I can tell you though, trying to do my job and trying to do their job at the same time, that's difficult. So I may have to tweak that, and we talked about that in my office, that we're gonna try it, but we're gonna be flexible. I may need someone, looks like I'm gonna need somebody else in there all day long, so.
Augie, if I need to get a marriage license or I want to record a deed, how do I do that?
Well, you call ahead for an appointment. I have it posted on the website. I've got signs outside my door. You call for an appointment. We'll only allow one person in the office at a time. And so we'll maintain our social distance, and we'll take care of it that way. Recording is done after 4 o'clock. And again, most of the people that are going to record documents know that we're closed, and they'll call ahead and say, hey, I'm going to bring this over, that we'll watch for them. I've already had somebody slide things underneath the door. So whatever works. But yes, you can record documents.
That's why I just wanted to make that point, that we weren't closed.
No,
We
no.
were under certain criteria, you can still function.
We use mail, FedEx, UPS, internet, whatever we need to do. It's going to slow the process down a little bit, but we will continue to provide as many services as we can. And I know the other department heads, well, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I know they're working their own plan, so, and they're doing the very best that they can also.
Any questions of Augie on how he's doing it, and he is correct. The other offices are reacting very similarly, and the public can still function in these offices, but they have to make appointments and et cetera.
We don't know how long this is going to be in effect.
Nope. So, at any rate, what I think we should do at this point, and it's just my opinion, I think we should continue to pay our employees their current rate of pay. Part-timers,
You can keep going.
part-timers, if we have regular part-timers, they should still, and they're covered in the act also. We should continue and review the policy every couple weeks when we have new information, and go from there. Yes,
Those Newman replace the old one. The old one was 12 weeks of family medical leave. Does this stipulate a time period?
Yeah, it does did you get it?
No, I didn't. I just gone by
I emailed.
what I
You
used. when I
got
was
it
working.
emailed to you,
Okay,
all right? The sick leave, it gets very, it's a government deal, so it's fairly complicated. It requires sick leave to be taken at the discretion of the employee. And then for family medical leave, it allows an extension of that, okay? Here, do you wanna read it?
I just wondered if it's 12 weeks or longer than 12 weeks, that's what I'm asking. Does it stipulate a time? Federal is 12 weeks,
This is a federal document,
okay.
okay?
Dan, what you're saying is what the old,
The
the old
the one that we go by like at the hospital is
Yes.
12 weeks. I just wonder if this gives an extension longer than 12 weeks, since we don't know how long this is gonna last.
I'm reading it there. It's,
I don't know, I agree with Jeff, employees should be.
Well, here, if they are, for the reasons 1, 2, and 3, which employee is subject to federal, state, and local quarantine, employee has been advised by the health provider that he needs to be or she needs to be in quarantine. Employees experience symptoms of COVID-19 and is seeking medical diagnosis, then they would be paid in full up to, but not exceeding $511 a day. Has anybody read this? It's been a while since I've read this. This is kind of open-ended right now. See, businesses get tax credits. We do not get tax credits. In other words, if you're out, Dan, and we're paying you $300 a day at the end of this mess, and when it's all concluded, then that is subject, if you're a private employer, work for a private employer, they can get a tax credit for what they paid you, okay? Family medical leave is still, I think, in place until they change the law, okay? But what I'm saying is, to make it simple, is we simply, for the time being, keep paying our employees. Yes, sir?
A question. If somebody goes in, say, I get sick, and I go in, and all I have is just the influenza, that does not qualify me to receive anything according to this COVD
You would then fall under our
or
old
normal
system.
policy,
Right.
correct? But they have to bring in some sort of verification from the doctor saying that they have.
That's correct.
COVID-19.
In other words, we may have somebody else that, for whatever reason, they have the regular flu,
Right.
or they need to be hospitalized because they need a leg stent or
Right.
whatever, then that would be covered by our regular policy. This is just related to the COVID-19,
Right.
okay?
So what you're saying is, regardless of how often they are showing up or whatever modified schedules in place, we will continue to pay them as if they were full-time or part-time if they were part-time based on an average.
Right, that's correct. Yes, John?
And I assume we're talking about, if the law doesn't go into effect until April 2nd, that's a pay period since this all started. I assuming as a county, we're looking at backdating it and from
We're
when we started rather than cheating them out of one pay period.
We went ahead and said, we have a particular individual that their child is out of school,
Right,
and we're paying them,
yeah.
okay?
And I'm fine with that, I just wanted to clarify.
No,
all the dates.
we stepped up at the very beginning until the board could be, and said, this is what we're doing for now, and it's up to the board, okay?
Just a question, I think that's absolutely the right way to go, just out of curiosity. Augie, through your office and just your best guess through our other offices, I mean, how is this new setup affecting any kind of revenue we would bring in? I mean, do you think there's going to be a massive effect, very little effect? I mean, there's certain charges we have for document processing and things of that nature.
That's a good question, and I don't
Probably
want
not
to.
enough basis to say.
Yeah, it will have an impact,
Sure.
and not in any certain order, but part of it is the fact that the DMV is closed. So the people that have to get their license renewed with the real ID, they have to come to our office to get a certified copy of their birth certificate. And that was just coming and coming and coming, and all of a sudden it come to a halt. So there's an effect there. Recording, which is a larger source of revenue, I've decided that I'm not going to shut down the real estate business in this county, because it all starts in my office with title companies and banks and attorneys and searchers searching for titles and other documents. So if they can't do that, then they can't proceed with lending money, and the title companies can't do their, it just, everybody's involved. And so we are gonna make our best effort to do that as it comes along. We will record every
Sure.
document that presents itself. So, you know, we'll do every marriage license. People want a marriage license. We will continue to do that. A certain amount of a lack of revenue will be because people have self-quarantined themselves.
Sure.
So,
I was just curious how this would affect this overall the budget. I imagine not much, but I was just curious.
I look at it this way, on most of that stuff, it's gonna slingshot. In other words, like I have 3 things on my desk that I need to do for DMV. And if I needed that, eventually they're gonna have to come in and do it. When everything opens back up, I think that's when it's gonna hit the fan.
all hands on deck.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's a question I wanted to ask, or maybe more of a point. And I have enough faith in our employees to know they'll make it right, but 1, 3, 6 months from now, whenever all this comes to an end, there's gonna be a whole lot of work that needs done quick, and we're looking at overtime, and it'd be kinda nice if the employees remembered the time that they didn't work during the process.
Jeff, excuse me, may I
Please.
make one more
yes.
One more comment regarding my office and how it's affected the employees. Because I'm not naming names, but I have an employee who is home with a child, young child, they can't go anywhere. And so there are certain stages post-election, the process that needs to be completed. And I will make sure that that process is completed in a timely fashion. So we're going to run our vote by mail ballots today. We have to wait for 14 days after the election to allow those mail ballots to come in. And once that window shuts, then we can do our canvass of votes, and we will make sure that we're going to stay on that schedule and do what the law requires. I'm not aware of any relief yet from the time frame from the State Board of Elections, but we're going to proceed as if we got to do what we got to do under normal circumstances. So I just want to let the public know that we had a good election. Every vote's going to be counted that was cast, and we're going to process the post-election work accordingly and on time. So,
Dan, in reading this, the standard family leave is still in place.
Okay.
How it's affected is what's paid by who and the tax credits, okay? So I would entertain a motion at this point that we continue to pay our employees, and both full-time and part-time as described.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Derek, seconded by Phil. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Then we'll revisit that in a few weeks. You know, we've got a board meeting come up here mid-month in April. We'll take a look at things then, but, you know, who knows? Things change day to day anymore. Yes,
I
sir.
just want to clarify, that particular one that you're reading right there has to do with the coronavirus.
Correct,
only.
yes.
The one that someone is currently on is the old one, that is, I mean, somebody doesn't have coronavirus, correct? You said you had one employee that was on it, didn't you?
No, they don't have coronavirus.
Right.
They're
But that
just,
falls under the other,
Yeah,
the
that's
old.
what.
No, that
that's
would
what
fall
Jay was
with-
saying. He was using an example. If he got the flu, it's not COVID-19, the old FMLA policy would apply.
their child
Is that
went
right, Jay?
home, their
Right.
child went home because of the virus. They qualify. Okay,
Okay, okay,
all right?
yes. So you weren't saying you had something to do with that, you were making an example.
I was making an
I thought you
example.
said you had
Okay.
something.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that,
Well, we
it is a
do.
real life example.
We do, but
I wasn't,
she,
She falls under
she's
the
gonna
old.
come in as she can,
Okay.
but there'll be times that she can't.
she will
So-
still be paid because the coronavirus, we're going back to the start when all this happened, okay?
The document makes reference to providing emergency leave
Yeah.
is basically what it is, due to the COVID-19.
Anybody that's affected by the virus will be paid.
Right, okay.
And
Now-
the child does not have the virus, that there is no school and no daycare because of the virus, therefore.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're
I
saying.
follow
Okay. Sorry if I didn't make that clear.
Affected, not infected.
now. Okay,
Yeah. Affected, and that's with an A. All right,
good.
we're done with that issue. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for the purposes of discussing personnel.
So moved.
Derek moves. Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. We'll take a quick break, let everybody clear.
We're ready.
Okay, we're back in open session. The third item on the agenda was any motions based upon our closed session on personnel. And at this time, there's no appropriate motions or resolutions to be offered. We'll hold off and look at that to the next regular meeting. So, there's nothing further to come before the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Derek moves, Andy seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We're adjourned.